Hey guys, this is Ed from Barnabas Robotics. I wanted to spend a little time today to share about a project that one of my students is working on. Her name is Natalie. One of the things she was getting involved with was creating hand sanitizer and providing the profits for a good cause. She wanted to take it the next step where she wanted to be able to create her own automated hand sanitizer system. So the idea is that you typically you'd have something like this, and then you have to spray, and then the stuff would come out, and then you'd use it on your hands. She wanted to create her own version that had a sensor, so you could just put your hand up to it, it would automatically spray. So it was a really fun process. We actually started from just resistors, just standard electronics components. We learned about switches or transistors, and then built out this pretty complex circuit onto a breadboard. And then we eventually took that thing and then created a printed circuit board, which is what I'm going to end with, is I'm going to actually try to solder the parts on. So before we do that, I want to switch over and show you guys what this breadboard looks like. Okay, so going over here, you see that we have the breadboard here, and this is how it works. I have this red and black wire right now. I have it hooked up to 4.5 volts. So the system is supposed to work with 3 AA batteries. And we have right here, this is just a power indicator light. So when it's got power, it should turn on. And then what happens is when you put your hand, this is the sensor here, put your hand on, the motor spins. Take your hand off, the motor doesn't spin. So hers actually has this motor, it's a DC motor hooked up to a water pump. So when it spins, it's actually going to be pumping water out, and then through a little spray mechanism where the water comes out. But this is just me just testing with this little Wheel of Fortune project that one of my other students made. Okay, so that part works. Now, another thing that came up is that she wanted to be able to have a low battery power indicator. So, or a low battery indicator. So if you look, this light right here, this light will turn on when we get down to, I believe it's around 2 volts or so. So you can't see it, but I'm going to reduce my voltage. I have a variable power supply right here. I'm going to reduce it down to, it's about 2.7 volts. You can see that light turned on. And if I go down even further, you see now it's around 2 volts. That power turns on. That low battery power indicator turns on. If I go back up, now I'm at 3 volts, 3.6 volts, about 4 volts. See, then you see that light turned off. So that's pretty cool. Now another thing that we realized, that this sensor, the polarity was actually flipped from what we wanted it to do, so we had to add a transistor to invert that. This is the system. I'm super excited about it. So my background's in electrical engineering. I think this is super cool. Natalie, she's in high school. I've actually never built anything like this. Probably not till I worked in robotics for about 10 years. So probably not till around year 3, 4 of being in an industry till was the time I made something like this. So I was pretty excited that we could do that together, and I wanted to kind of just show this off. So I'm going to transition over here. If you look at the schematic, this is what we went through, and keep in mind, Natalie, she's never designed anything like this before, so we actually started learning about just what a transistor is, just how some of these things work, and then we actually used breadboard to create each little subsystem, tested it. We started to play around with the resistor values, to figure out real-time design project. So really cool. If you're an engineer and slash an educator, it's amazing that a student was able to go through this and to understand the whole design process and to actually build it and see it work. So that's why I'm super excited. Okay, so this is the low battery indicator circuit I was talking about. Basically, what we have here is a voltage divider with this resistor network, and then a transistor to turn off and on this LED, the LED one right here. So circuit that just turns on whenever we give it power. All right, and then the motor circuit, that one was kind of fun, in that we have this is a sensor here. This is the sensor where I said it was kind of the polarity was flipped. So we need to add a transistor to flip that, and then we have this transistor to turn the motor, the DC motor, off and on. And then these two transistors, T2 and T3, they're connected. They're talking to each other. Now, I actually realize let me come down here. Ah, yes. So this green was actually a previous version. The final version, we added this other T3 transistor here. What we found was that at voltages less than 2 volts, this system, the sensor would just stop working, this one right here, the T1, and then the motor would just turn on because the rest of the circuit wasn't working. So we had to add another transistor here that would be off if there wasn't enough power. And we also used a voltage divider here. So it was super cool because when we ran into that issue where this motor would just start running if the rest of the system shut off, we had to think, well, what does a transistor do? And how can we use a transistor to fix this problem? And where should we put it, right? And to actually just think creatively and say, oh, let's put it here, and then what would the resistors be? And then to kind of just see it all come together. Really, really rewarding, really, really amazing. Okay, so there we are. Now, let's see if we can solder this thing. All right. So we went through this the process of using what was it called, Eagle. And again, Natalie's never done it before. She had to learn a lot of things on the fly. But here is the board. So let me move this. I'm going to move this out of the way. We don't need our little breadboard anymore because all this breadboard has become this right here. So pretty amazing. Oh, okay. All right. Just kind of move my camera a little bit there. All right. So Natalie designed this, and then she got a few boards. We used Osh Park. We just love their little, purple boards here. And she kindly labeled the resistors for me. And then let's see if we can get this. All right, so let me make some room here. The first thing that we're gonna do is probably put on the resistors because we don't want to put on these through-hole components till the end because that's when the board starts getting off balance and stuff. All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's go with the 470. You know what? I need a bomb, right? I need to figure out what is R1, R2, R3. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me get that information. Okay. All right. It took me a little time. I realized I did not have the bomb, so I had to kind of figure it out from the layout here and the schematic. But I think this is correct. If it's not, we'll find out later on when I try to start it, to try it. Okay, so let's first do the 470 ohm, which is the 471. Let's see here. Can't see as well, but okay. Okay, so we've got that's not it. 471. Okay. So this is the 470 ohm. Let's go ahead and take these out here. This is always fun. Take this out. Okay, I'll do one here and then we'll... This is always fun, huh? Maybe this guy. All right. Coming out. Here we go. All right, we got one out. We got two out. Okay. So let's see, we got R3, which is right here, and R7, which is right here. Okay, so what I like to do, all right, I've got my soldering iron here. We got it hot, and let's go ahead and put some solder on R3 and R7 pads here. There we go. Kind of a lot there, but there we go. R3 and then same thing as R7. I'm going to put the solder here. There we go. And there we go. All right, so now that we've got the solder on there, this should be super easy. I probably put a little bit too much there, but you know what? Let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, I'm zoomed in a little bit more, so that should help. All right, let's go ahead and put this in there. Like that. I'm going to turn this guy. And I'm going to make sure that this is like that. And then I'm going to heat this side up. As it's hot, just kind of put it in there. Let it cure a little bit. And then we should be good. Nice. And then just kind of heat up this side. And we should be good. So not the prettiest thing, but that should be effective. Let's do this one. It's actually been a while since I've done this, so a little rusty, but just gotta get it to work, that's all. Okay. Let's heat that up again. Okay. Heat it up. Boom, that's good. Let me get that off. Alright, and then this side here, same thing. Oh, actually, so if I'm looking at this, the resistor is kind of, see, it's slanted. That's not good. Let's make sure it's kind of as flat as possible. Heat this up again. Okay. Grab it. Make sure it's as flat as possible when you're trying to put it on. Okay. It's not on there. You know what? Let me redo this. This is getting a little... Okay, there we go. And there we go. Okay, that felt solid. Alright, then I hold it there and let go of my tweezers. Cool. And let's go ahead and do this side. Okay. Since this is a rosin core flux, so it's already, everything goes on pretty easily. Okay, so not pretty, but these are literally the first two surface mount resistors that I've soldered in a few years here, so I'm going to give myself a break. But all right, so we got R2 and or R3 and R7. Let's move on to the 4.7K, which is R1 and R4. Okay, I've gone ahead and got my resistors here. So I gotta go on R1 and R4. Let's see if I can do a better job this time. And you know what? This time I'm just gonna put the solder on one side. This might be better. All right, R1 and R4. Because last time when I put solder on both sides, the solder naturally caused the resistor on the other side to stick up a little bit. So that's not good. So let's just do one side, heat up the solder. And we are good. The thing is just making sure it's nice and hot so that, oh, wasn't hot enough. It's about making that joint nice and hot. Still not good. Let's see what we got. Maybe this time. Okay, and you got to be careful. You don't want to accidentally push it or something, because that solder joint's not going to be that strong. You could possibly rip the pad off if you go too hard. Okay, so now I'm going to take both of these, the solder, and then make sure it's on the pad and the resistor. There we go. Okay. All right. Not pretty, but faster. Okay, so now we've got R1s on there. Next one, what do we got? R4? Okay. Let's see if we can do this. I'm getting better, guys. Heat up the pad and the joint. That one was clean, a lot cleaner. Let me do that here. Okay. Now I'm gonna get this. Okay. And then what to look out for is, like, if you look at it, you want to make sure that the solder is touching the end of the resistor as well as the pad. And so that's the case here. So we're good. And then make sure it's not like that on both sides. All right. Let's move on to the next one. I have a 10K that I need to do. All right. So I've got my resistors. I went ahead and took them out, so to kind of save time here. All right. So this is the R8. Let's go ahead and find R8 right here. Let's do my same method here of just one pad. Okay. Heat up that pad and put your resistor there. Get the joint nice and hot. And that one is good. Okay, let me move that off. And then we just put some solder on and heat it up the other side. And there we go. Alright, and alright, got that a little dirty, but that's okay. Alright, so R8's on there. Then we have R6. Cool. Okay, let's get R6 on there. Okay, I'm actually, oh, it's on, but I can tell it's not as strong as I would like. Okay, so we're going to heat it up, make sure it's nice and hot here. There we go. It's on there and it's nice and flat. So yeah, like with many things, I start getting good at it when I'm almost done. Okay, so we go like that. And taking a look here, R6 is also nice. All right, and then let's do R2 and R5. R2 and R5. Okay, this is just here I got my here. Heat it up. There we go. And then let's put some more solder for the other side and heat it up. Let me just double check this. We are good. All right, then we have R5. All right, and that's one thing, you can turn the, it's good to turn the PCB. Let's get it to positions that's comfortable for you. Okay, so there we go. Cool. And turn it back this way, and let's do the other side. All right. Okay. So here's my board with my, what is that, 7 resistors. Again, not the prettiest thing. Let's see, I have some just solder that needs to get cleaned up a little bit. Okay. So now I got all those surface mount things on, and that was probably the hardest part. Now we can choose what do we want to do now. We've got LEDs. We've got these connectors. Let's do these kind of these surface. What do you call them? Through hole connectors. All right. So these 2 pins are going to go into here. We want to make sure that they're facing the right way. So if we look at it, this is where the holes, wires are going to go through, so that should be facing out of the board. So let's put the motor pin on. All right, so now once we have that, these are kind of tricky. You got to hold it with this hand, and then as you flip it over, kind of hold there as you put solder on one of these. And the key thing about this when we do this is that we want to make sure that the entire pad here is covered with solder. That's how you make sure you get a good, good connection there. All right, let's see if we can do this. This might be a little bit tricky. So put some solder on this, okay? And then, as remember, I'm holding this with this to keep it flush like that, okay? And then I go like that. As I'm holding it, go ahead and see the pin that's sticking out, and with solder. All right, so then it'll be like kind of on there. Once it's kind of on there, then you can go ahead and do the other one. And the key is you want to heat up the pin and the pad and the solder at the same time, and then it should kind of just go where it needs to go. And check it out. So you see it's pretty good. It's nicely covered. Now you can go back and do that first one. Same thing here, just solder, heat up everything, and there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing on the rest of these, making sure that we're going in the right direction. All right, and now we're using, yeah, we'll do the battery. Okay, remember once it's on there, you can do the other side. There we go. There we go. All right, and I'm gonna push that off. Okay. All right, that's good. And then let's do the switch as well. Okay. And then remember, I'm going like this. Okay, so put a little bit more, otherwise it's gonna fall through. Okay, so that's kind of good. Enough so that it's stuck, and then we'll do the other side. There we go. And let's do this side. And there we go. All right, we are looking pretty good. Let's see, let's go this one, right? And then again, make sure that the wires are, the hole for the wires is sticking out this way. All right, let's hold. Careful not to burn your fingers. Okay, let's clean that. There we go. Okay. Oh, this one probably needs a little bit more. Okay. And then one more. There we go. Got that. So once you get on a roll, things start kind of going, kind of get a rhythm. Okay, great. All right, now we got our connectors on. And let's see, the sensor. Am I missing? I felt like I had a 3-prong. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we use this straight header for this one. All right, so this one, same kind of thing. You put it in, and then you want to make sure it's not like that or something. Right, we want to make sure it's straight. So get it straight, and then we'll do that same kind of thing here. Just put enough solder to get it stuck. Okay, it's straight. Okay, it's not working, so let's put a little more. Okay, I put enough to get stuck. Nice. Now let's do the other sides. Boom. Here we go. And then let's get the third one. There we go. Okay, I got my sensor there. Now we have our BJTs. All right, so let's get these things in there. You might need to move these legs a little bit. This way it matches, right? Stick it through. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. You just got to get it. There. Great. You know what? They're kind of rigid, so I'm just going to do all of them here. Again, with all this stuff, you get a rhythm that looks about right. There. Look at that. Getting a little faster. Okay. There we go. Now you see this one's going to fall out. So what I like to do is kind of go like that, and then you can just bend the legs a little bit like that. Then that one won't fall out. Okay. And you got this one. Nice. All right. Now, let's go ahead and bend the legs outwards so that they all don't fall out. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, similar thing as we did over here with these headers. Get the pin. I'll start over here. The pin, the pad, all hot with solder, and you'll get a good solid connection. There we go. And make sure, so by the end of this, make sure you don't see any of that gold showing, because then that's an area where there's no solder, right? Okay, that's good. So the key here, if you get the pin and the pad and the solder all hot at the same time, the solder goes exactly where it needs to go. Okay, so if you know what you're doing, it's actually pretty quick. Okay, let's get in there, nice. Okay. And then we've got this one as well. Just make sure everything's good. All right, so that's all looking good. The next thing we want to do is just cut these off with some cutters. So you could use some cutters or even just scissors like this. Should be all right. Let's see what happens here. Well, actually, okay. Yeah, I can't get these cutters in there, or these scissors in there, so I'm gonna get some cutters. Okay, so you just go in there and cut them off. Now this is not a great one. I think they're for roses or something like that. That's why it's not cutting very well. But you get the point, okay? We'll cut these. This is not the prettiest thing, guys. Sometimes you just gotta use what tools you have. Yeah, these are pretty bad, actually. Okay. right, last one. There we go. Okay. Not the prettiest thing, and you know what I'm going to do is make sure that these wires, they're all not touching each other, okay? You don't want that. Later I'll probably find my nice tools and cut these as short as possible. But for now, we'll leave it as is. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. I actually found these, so let's go ahead and clean this up. This should be better. Here we go. Alright, so you want to cut them as short as possible. One, so that they don't touch each other, that's one. The other part is that you don't want stuff sticking out very far on the bottom of your board. Okay. Okay. Alright, so it's all cut there. Alright, so this is what the top looks like. Things are looking good. And then these lights, later, they're going to be connected to the outside world, but I guess we could put it into here as well. But we could do that later when we try it out. The last thing I'll do for now is we have this switch that's going to be connected to the outside world. So let's take two of these Arduino wires that has the pins that will easily allow it to stick into the switch terminal like that. Okay. So it doesn't really matter which side. Let's go ahead and tin this. Let's put solder on both of these actually. Okay. Just make sure we get solder on there. Trying to hold this. Okay, there we go. There's a good amount of solder on that. Let's do the same thing over here. Probably should have done it like this. Okay. Be careful, the metal gets pretty hot, so you probably want to hold it on the plastic part. Just get solder. It's not quite sticking on there, so we gotta put some more on, make sure it's both heated. And there we go. Alright, so now I got solder right here and right here. So the key, if it's not sticking, you got to make sure that this is the actual metal on the switch is hot enough. Okay. Alright, so again, now we take one of these and let's put some solder on here. Okay, now this should stick to this pretty easily. Just heat that guy up. Yeah, heat up this solder. Let's give it a second here. Okay, it's hot. And it fell off. Alright, it's possible my soldering iron's not quite hot enough. Let me try again. Again, the key is to get everything nice and hot. Okay, that looks pretty solid. Let it harden. Okay, that's really solid. You can see that. So the key was got to get everything nice and hot, and then you get that stuff. Okay, now let's do the red one. Okay. Same thing. Let's get this weight here. Keep it on there. Just get it nice and hot before we put it on. There we go. I can see it melting. Okay. And then keep your hands there until it changes color. Okay. I think we're good there. Okay, so at this point, what we need to do is just stick this into the these two wires into the switch, which is this jumper here, or this connector there. Just stick them in there, and then these are screw terminals, so that we can just screw it in there. Let's see if the screwdriver is small enough. I think it is. Then we just tighten it up over here. All right, so now I have my switches in there. Ooh, that's still a little hot, so yeah, keep that in mind too. And let's see, we've got our motor pins here. So we'll try this a little bit later, but for now we've got our soldered board. All right.